Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TWFC Metal, mostly everything that's anything lately in the Wrestling Figure Cartel. We would start the evening off with a battle royal to see who would be the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. We would start with 20 men, but we would quickly work our way down to the final 4 or 5 participants as a miscommunication causes more rift between the Judgment Day. Did Styles do it on purpose? Doesn't matter. Ricochet gets him from behind. And if this looks familiar, it's because these 3 men just did battle a week ago at the Royal Rumble for the right to become King of the Ring. But here we are in the finals of this battle royal. Ricochet and Bourne finally on the same page, getting the big man over the top. So it was down to them two to settle it. Who's going to be the number one contender and what? Both men's feet hit the floor at the same time. Stop me if you've heard this before. One ref holding up Bourne's arm, the other ref holding Ricochet's arm, and the argument would break out when the refs came to a decision. Both men are declared the winners. They don't look too happy about that, but the Intercontinental Champion watching backstage really doesn't seem too happy about that. But speaking of not being happy about things, Balor would throw an absolute fit in the locker room. He said the Judgment Day just keeps having these miscommunications, and he has brought forth an ultimatum. If the Judgment Day cannot find their way to WrestleMania and get a win, he'll break the Judgment Day up for good. Now, speaking of the WrestleMania card, we know the WrestleMania main event, as just a little over a week ago, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, would punch his ticket by outlasting 29 other men in the first ever TWFC Royal Rumble. The next night, Paul Heyman would let Cody know just how ridiculous it was to think that he could compete with Gunther. Cody Rhodes would fire back with some harsh words of his own, saying Gunther couldn't speak for himself. Which brought us to tonight. Gunther would get face to face with Cody Rhodes and tell him he just wanted him to look into the eyes of the man who will be responsible for crushing his dreams and causing Cody to completely embarrass his family's legacy at WrestleMania. And as the TWFC champion walked away, you could tell the challenger had a lot to think about. Jumping gears to something else that happened last week as Mick Foley would break the news to Dink that as a result of using his laughing gas, the hardcore title would now be 24/7 rules. As Darby Allin would catch Dink off guard and win the title via an email Mick Foley sent to all the talent. Well, later on that night, we would find Mick Foley very injured in the back, which brings us to tonight. No Mick Foley around, and Dink would get his rematch for the hardcore title, and we have never seen this clown more vicious. There was no more clowning around anymore because the dark side of this clown would come out in this match as he would basically choke the life out of Darby Allin until the referee was forced to stop the match. Once again, TWFC Hardcore Champion, Dink. But that wasn't enough. He would savagely put his hands on the referee, even going so far as to drive him through a table in the corner after the match. That's where Dink would look at the camera and say, Foley, innocent people are gonna get hurt every week until you agree to face me one-on-one. Another blockbuster WrestleMania match that was just announced last week. The challenge was laid and the challenge was accepted, as Will Ospreay and John Cena would meet face-to-face in the ring for the first time, and before they would exit the ring, they would agree in principle to a WrestleMania match. Well, coming up this week on the Late Night Talk Show, it'll be Cena and Ospreay to talk about their WrestleMania match. And the Tag Team Championships will be on the line at WrestleMania. It was Moxley and Danielson that earned the number one contender spot, and they acted like everything was good when they had the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club help them beat down FTR in the locker room. What a savage attack that took place last week as they stole the tag team titles. Well, this week, FTR would take on half of the Blackpool Combat Club in Cesaro and Wheeler Yuta. And after a back and forth contest, it was FTR just starting to get the upper hand, getting their revenge on the Blackpool Combat Club, when Moxley and Danielson made their presence known. For the second week in a row, it is the Blackpool Combat Club using the numbers game to viciously beat down the tag team champions, ahead of their contest at WrestleMania. What's gotten into the Blackpool Combat Club? Is this the biggest challenge FTR has faced this far? We'll find out at Mania. But the longest Mania match, one that's been in the making for months, got a huge update tonight. In the middle of the ring, Stone Cold Steve Austin would personally break the news that due to such a large roster and a brand split that is coming after WrestleMania, there is need for another world champion. So the Kurt Angle Bret Hart match at WrestleMania will be for the World Championship. The classic big gold belt. But with these two personalities in the ring, it was bound to get ugly. Kurt Angle mentioned Bret Hart may be letting down his entire family and disgracing Stu Hart's dungeon when he gets out-wrestled by Angle. Bret Hart says that this is a contest to figure out who is the best, but he better keep his dad's name out of his mouth. The tensions are starting to rise in this one. They've had months to train, and now a World Heavyweight Championship prize in the balance. Kurt Angle vs. Bret Hart at WrestleMania. And just announced, there will be a Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania this year. Qualifying matches are coming up this week. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 30 days away from the first ever TWFC WrestleMania. There's so much more to come on the road to WrestleMania. We appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you soon.